This is Into the Fire.
What a great opportunity I now have to interview the #1 hammer thrower in 2020, the Hulk minus the green skin, the great guy and smart USA Olympian, Rudy Winkler. Nice to meet you, Rudy.
Nice to meet you too, LJ. Thanks for having me on.
It's my pleasure. Well, first things first, how are things in New York, mate? It's such a long way from Australia. How are you? And how is the COVID situation?
We're good up here in New York. It's getting cold. It's winter here for us, and been snowing a little bit, but it's hovering in the mid 30s, which makes it difficult to train. But other than that, it's okay. I train in Ithaca, New York, which is sort of in the middle of New York, and there's not many people around right now, so COVID luckily isn't too bad, but U.S. isn't doing as good with COVID as other places in the world, but overall, not doing that bad, and we're pretty fortunate for what we have going on here as of now.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so first question is not related to athletics. You're not related to Henry Winkler, are you? It would be cool to know the Fonz. You're pretty cool, so it might be possible.
I am not related to the Henry Winkler, but I'm related to a Henry Winkler. I'm not really sure where the relation is. He's some uncle, your second uncle or something like that. But people used to apparently call his house and ask for the Fonz, and he would play along as if he was Henry Winkler, like the actor, which is a pretty funny story.
Yeah, it is. Now, you grew up with 2 brothers and 3 sisters. Bet they didn't like you throwing them around the pool. What was it like growing up in the Winkler household?
It was hectic. My next oldest brother was 5 years older than me, so there was a bit of an age gap. So I was always much younger than them. I was always kind of like the little kid running around the house. So I wasn't always the one throwing them around. I was normally the one being thrown around until, about high school. I started getting a lot bigger than they were, and then I started throwing them around. But it was great. I learned a lot from having older siblings and having so many siblings. So I think that's part of why I've had the success I've had, is because I've had such great influence from my siblings.
Yeah, of course. Now, you were a thrower at a very young age. At what age did you see the hammer throw, and was it love at first sight?
So no, actually. So I started throwing. I did a Pee Wee track team in elementary school, so like 4th or 5th grade. I started doing track and field. I did running, distance, and I did the shot put and the discus. My parents wanted me to do track because I was a bit of a heftier kid. I was a little bit overweight, and they thought if I did track, I would run and I would lose weight. But then I ended up throwing, being really good at throwing, which it's celebrated to be a big person. So at the time, they thought it kind of backfired, but since then, it's obviously worked out. But hammer, I didn't do it in 4th or 5th grade. I kind of started paying attention to it the next couple of years, but I didn't start it until I was 13, around 13. And then when I was 14 or 15, I met my current coach, who's Patty McGrath, and the year after that, I ended up stopped throwing shot put and discus and stuck with hammer full time.
Yeah, it's a very cool sport. Now, you joined Cornell University in 2011. Did they ever try you to get to join the American football team? I bet the cheerleaders didn't want you to be their thrower though.
I was never pressured to do football, American football, in college. Luckily, that was something that I was pressured to do throughout my high school, 9th through 12th grade for us here. Was always pressured by the high school coaches to do football. But by the time I was in my last year or two of high school, it became pretty clear to them that I wasn't going to join the team and that I was pretty serious about track and field.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Okay, so American universities and colleges fascinate me. What is college life like? Is it like the movies?
In some ways, yeah, it definitely is like the movies. Movies are obviously a little exaggerated, But if you're looking for that life, you can find that life. But for me, college was more of, um, it was an opportunity for me to explore some, schooling and education that I hadn't really thought about before. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do when I first got into college, and I was in a degree that had a lot of openness. It was like I could do a lot of different things with it, take a lot of different classes, and have them count towards credits towards my major. So I just went for anything that I thought was interesting, and ended up learning a lot and kind of figuring out what I'm interested in, which was great. But I think a lot of people, college is what you make of it, and if you want to have that, idolized American, university experience, you can have it. But you can also, it can also be a really great place for you to educate yourself and learn things that you wouldn't have otherwise, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. On college, you were selected for the Quill and Dagger Society, a secret society. That is the coolest thing ever. Are you able to tell me about it, or are you sworn to secrecy?
It's sworn to secrecy. No, I can tell you a little. I mean, it's not as glorious as it might seem. The tapping process, the process of getting into it, is secret. Um, but outside of that, we do a lot of, or we did a lot of things on campus. Um, Help funded projects or did our own projects, and mostly tried to stay under the radar with those things. So it was mostly, if someone in Quill and Dagger had something that they were working on, they could get help from the rest of the club and make it a bigger thing than it would have been. So it was really cool being part of that, and I met a lot of really interesting people because of it.
Yeah, sounds really cool. Your
Yeah.
rise through college was really impressive, leading to your selection in the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. How excited were you, and when did you find out you'd been selected?
So I was obviously very excited. That year was a good year for me throwing wise, but at the beginning of it, I never really considered the Olympics being on the table. But then come our Ivy League conference championships, I threw like the 12th furthest throw in the world at that point, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, like I might be able to go to the Olympic trials and do pretty well at them. And then the few weeks leading up to the trials, I had a couple of really good throws that um, would have counted for the Olympic standard, which no one in the U.S. had at that point. Um, for various reasons, it ended up not counting, but that just meant I had to go to the Olympic trials and win it in order to go to the Olympics. So I did that, which was a great, achievement. That was probably one of my best achievements so far in the sport. And yeah, it was kind of like a dream come true. It was something that I always kind of knew I was going to be trying for at some point, but to have it happen when it did was kind of unexpected, but it was glorious nonetheless.
Yeah, it would have been super exciting.
Yeah.
Now, you finished 18th at 22 years old, 18th in the whole world. I know you didn't achieve the distance you had previously, but did you learn a lot from that experience?
Yeah. I mean, so I think a big part of me being top in the world this year was because of that experience, um, kind of indirectly through having gotten to compete at that level at a young age, getting to compete at Worlds the next year, get a little bit more experience, and then coming off of that, doing better at the World Championships in 2019. That kind of set me up really nicely to be number one in the world this past year.
Yeah. What was the Olympic Village like?
Oh, it's interesting. It's like everyone. I like to do this thing when I'm in public when I like see people, uh, always think about like, oh, like, they could be really good at something, or they could have like something that they're the best at the world at. Like, you just don't know. You see all these people around, and it's like there's you know a mystery to everybody because everyone is so different and good at different things. But when you're at the Olympic Village, everybody that's there is one of the best in the world at what they're doing, and they're there to try to hopefully win in their event. So you're just surrounded by people from all sorts of different sports who are the best in the world, and it's just like a really like humbling is a good word for it, but it's it's very cool to see like, you know, different body types, different types of people, different personality traits, different, you know, pretty much anybody can be an Olympian. Um, and that becomes very clear when you're in the Olympic Village, just because of the type of people you see and interact with every day. It's super cool, and it's also really cool getting to see people like Michael Phelps, like going to get lunch. It's like someone that you only ever really see on TV, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, like yeah, he's a real dude, and he's here, and he's gonna compete, and he's gonna win a couple of gold medals. So it's a really awesome experience.
Yeah, it totally would be. You also give back to your sport and college by volunteering yourself as a throwing coach at Rutgers. Do you feel this helps your own technique by showing others?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like to give back in whatever way I can, but I also think it is beneficial to coach a little bit. It makes you think about the sport a little bit differently, and that can definitely help in your own training.
Yeah, definitely. You're doing a Masters of Business at the Science at Rutgers. You're a talented guy, aren't you? What do you want to do once your sport finishes?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I am working as a cybersecurity analyst right now. I enjoy it. I might keep doing that. I might not. I don't really know how long I'll even be throwing for, but doing the cybersecurity now is really enjoyable. And then maybe a few years down the line, when I'm finally done throwing, I'll want to do something else. But I at least you know, want to enjoy what I'm doing for now and try to get as good of an experience doing that stuff while I can.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Now, most importantly, in 2020, you threw the furthest distance of 80.7 meters. That's ridiculously far. How are you looking heading towards the Tokyo Olympics?
Uh, I'm feeling really good. I'm still training the same exact way I was training when I threw 80. You know, my distances in practice are all very similar, and there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to throw around that again. And with the experience, like we had just talked about, with having already gone to the Olympics and having done world championships and all of that, I definitely have a lot more confidence, and I feel a lot more prepared this time around. You know, the prospects of getting a medal feel more real, but I don't like to think about like, you know, I don't like having a goal being uh, get a medal at the Olympics, because I know I'd rather have a goal like throw this far, because if I throw that far, then that means I'll um, get a medal, you know, by just being the best at the field that day. So I feel good. I feel really confident, and I think if I qualify, I am ready more now than I ever was.
Yeah. Okay, a few hammer throw questions. How do you not get dizzy and fall over? And have you ever fallen over?
I've fallen over a lot, and if you search hard enough on the internet, you will find videos of me falling over. And you do get dizzy for a little bit when you're first doing it. I mean, it's you're spinning. Of course, you're going to get dizzy, but it is pretty amazing how quickly you adapt. And I could spin at least the direction that I spin for, you know, when I throw. I could spin that way for minutes and probably not get dizzy. So you adapt and you get used to it, which is super interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I bet there have been some near misses. Any funny hammer throw stories?
Ooh, funny hammer throwing stories. Um, I've had plenty of times where, you know, there used to be, this is an okay story. So there at Cornell, when I was still going to university, when I was still in school, there's a big rubber tire that we would put in the field, and I would try to hit it. Um, and I never really thought anything of it. I always got like kind of close. It's pretty hard to aim hammer. It's not like it's an accuracy thing. So aiming for something in the field can be fun. And one day I hit the top of the tire with the hammer, and you know, not really thinking about it beforehand. It's rubber, so it's gonna bounce off of it. The hammer shot off like another 50, 60 meters, almost landed in a parking lot. And luckily, you know, no one got hurt or anything. But seeing like the hammer go and then like unexpectedly hit something and then just launch into the distance was super funny. And luckily, no one was around, so there was no one to get hurt. But I ended up moving the tire after that, so that nothing bad happened afterwards.
Yeah. What's harder, throwing the hammer or replacing the 2 meter wide divots?
Oh man, probably throwing the hammer. The divots do get annoying, and if you don't fix them, it makes the field a muddy mess pretty quickly. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with option A.
Nice. Well, Rudy, it's been unbelievable getting the chance to chat to you all the way over at the Big Apple. But there is one more thing that you need. If you want to be the world champion, then you have a celebration befitting the man who is on top of the world. I saw you get welcomed onto the stage at the World Champs. And mate, your celebration was, how do I say this to a guy who could pop me like a pimple? It needs work. But don't fear. I have it for you. The greatest celebration in sporting history. Into the fire.
All right, I'll do that next time for sure.
Oh yeah, that fits you. That one's good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough, Rudy, for joining me today. You're a fantastic guy, and I'll be cheering for you in the Olympics. Stay healthy and throw for gold, buddy.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you.
It's been a pleasure.